Good morning and welcome to Better Thyself segment of Dr. Lamba's Awakening. People have sent me some messages that I talk of self-compassion and they have two objections to it. They say self-compassion implies that you blame yourself or it's an escape mechanism. And the other issue they say is that it's very difficult to practice self-compassion. It's not. Now let me be very clear. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook. You are still responsible for your acts. In fact, it is the opposite. It's in fact improving yourself that you do not repeat the same mistake again. Now, self-compassion by itself, if you look at the dictionary meaning, it might mean compassion for yourself. But the psychological term self-compassion has three components. Self-kindness, that's the first part. Kindness about yourself. Self-kindness means that you're warm towards yourself when you suffer or mess up, rather than judging yourself very harshly. Don't you know that when somebody has done something wrong and still suffers, you feel compassion for that person? Not that you say that he did something right. No. You say, well, he did something wrong, but still needs compassion, needs sympathy. And that's what self-kindness is. You show yourself the same sympathy, the same kindness, the same concern which you would show to anybody else. Second component is common humanity. Anybody can do it. So have you done it? To are is human. So common humanity means that you remind yourself that everyone suffers up, messes up sometimes, so have you. And having done something wrong and having suffered like other human beings, you need to pull yourself up. So this makes you a part of the humanity as a whole and not set you apart. And the third thing is mindfulness. Now, mindfulness means here that you are neither under nor over-identified with your painful thoughts. They were there, but they were there for some time, not forever. And you also recognize they are just thoughts, not your whole being. There is a separation between the thoughts for the time and thoughts forever. Thoughts forever are your habits. And all of a sudden something happens. And you do something wrong in a certain moment. Even law says, okay, something done in the heat of a moment, you are to be considered with compassion. So maybe you are worried about self-compassion would breed self-indulgence, leading you to let yourself off the hook too easily. No, it's not. Self-compassion is not only effective intervention for allowing mental distress, which is important. And that distress we desperately need. We want to elevate mental distress. We don't want to be mental patients. And it's an effective way to become a better human being. And how is it something that you can achieve? Now, what are the common objections I have talked to you? And the research shows that these objections, apart from what I am saying, the scientific research shows that this is wrong and self-compassion might rob us of the motivation to improve. That's wrong. If I don't self-criticize when I make a mistake, will I feel still driven to learn from them? You learn from your mistakes, but you learn once you recognize the mistakes that have been done and you have a motivation to improve. You see, yesterday in my thoughts of the day, I had written that motivation and inspiration are two different things. Motivation is something for the time being, inspiration forever. Anyway, coming back to that, I was telling you about the research. The University of California, Berkeley in 2012, about 10 years back, conducted a bit of experimental research, and it proved that self-compassion and motivation were really at odds. That was the purpose. And it was seen that they were not. They were in fact complementary. If you have self-compassion, you are more motivated. The guinea pigs were in this research were Berkeley students who were instructed to take on extremely challenging academic examination. So challenging, in fact, that everyone did badly. Then the students are divided into three groups, and each group received a different message after the test. One group was given a message of self-compassion, and that was, if you had difficulty with the test, you are not alone. Now, mind you, I told you about the common humanity. It's common for students to have difficulty with tests like this. Second group was given a self-esteem boost. You must be intelligent if you got in Berkeley. Well, it's not bad. It's not good that you have failed, but then still, you are a student of Berkeley. That means you are better than most of the people. You must be intelligent. Now, mind you, self-esteem, that boosted the self-esteem. The self-esteem is not the same as self-compassion. Self-esteem is self-respect. Because self-esteem focuses on validating the strength rather than accepting that we still have some weakness. So one group is receiving a message of self-compassion. The second group is receiving a message of self-esteem. And the third group was not told anything. And it was seen that the students, being students and highly competitive, would judge themselves harshly for failing a test. And then they gave all the students a chance to study further for as long as they wanted for a new test. And would you believe the self-compassion group studied the longest, displayed the greatest motivation to improve after the initial failure. Now, this conclusively proves that self-compassion is important. Now, what self-compassion does is actually give you the sense of safety to be able to say, okay, I did something wrong, I got blue. I feel so bad. But it is human, to is human, and I am a human being. People make mistakes and they pay for them, but then I'm going to learn from them, I'm going to repair myself from them. So you don't feel ashamed. You have done something wrong, you recognize it, it's a failure, and you'll get over that. If you feel shame, it shuts down your ability to learn. The shame is, I'm bad. How could I fail? Guilt is, I am no good at son. I'm no good at student. So, self-compassion is important. It's a motivating factor. It prompts you to work more. Now, how to practice self-compassion? In the next about 10 minutes, I'm going to give you a crash course. The great thing about self-compassion is that it's a skill you can learn. It is harder for some people, agree. But then all good things are hard. Like those who have experienced a kind of trauma that builds a harsh inner critic. Anyone can practice self-compassion and build it up by one. Now, let's take the example of a mom, a young woman. Is a new mom. I'm giving you an example who just started putting her kid in a daycare. The kid's distress upon being dropped off led mom to feel intense shame. I'm a bad mother. I'm dropping my kid in the daycare. I'm not looking after him. And she started ruminating how could she do the things differently. Could she pursue a more lucrative career? Or could she want to put the kid in the school? Or keep the kid home? Now this new mom begins to practice self-compassion. Step one, put yourself, I'm giving you an example so that you can associate yourself, is to become mindful of what she's feeling in the present moment. Simply be aware that she's in pain. Yes, you are putting a child a couple of few months old in daycare, a couple of years old in daycare. So is it really good? So you might say something is hard, it hurts. But then suffering is a part of life. Hurt would be there for anything. If I'm at home and all of a sudden something happens, I may not have the money. So I have to earn as well. And out of the lesser evil, this is it. So after you have been mindful, the second step is understand that this kind of suffering is a part of the human condition. It's not something different, special to you. There are 8 billion people in the world, 4 billion women. Out of 4 billion, about 1 billion are facing the same question that you are. Some may be putting the daycare, some may be putting with their in-laws, some may be putting with their grandparents, and like that. But then everybody takes help. At least 1 million do. So, you are a part of the common human community. You are not something special. And since you are not something special, this pain is a part of being a part of the humanity. You have got to accept it. So, it's not just me. It's a part of a lot of moms who are putting through. Now comes the step 3. So, first is rumination. Second is association. First is self-compassion. Then association with the other human beings. The third stage is mindfulness of what you are feeling at the present moment. And that is that you are in pain. And you might say, it hurts. But then there is a lot of suffering. Then it's a part of human life. It's just not me. I know other moms are putting it. My friend Sally does it. Romila does it. Shanta does it. So there's a lot of suffering and they put their kids in daycare. And then comes the third step, self-kindness. A good way to start is shifting back to physiology. As mammals, we are soothed by the physical touch. You know, physical touch is extremely important. That's why I say hug, but not more than 3 seconds. Just give a big hug and that will be great. Shake hands, but just 10 seconds. That's great. So as mammals, we crave for the human touch. So the new mom might put her hands over her heart, signaling to her body that it can reach and ease out of the pain of a third state. And then she can begin to ask herself, what would I say or do to a friend who was the same situation? I would say, well, look here, I know it's hard, but then if you don't earn, how would you look after your child? Pain is there, but this pain is a part of planning for the future of my child. What I am doing is for the good of the child. And that would bring her back to the reality. And then she would say, I won't berate herself this way. I am berating myself. I will sympathize with my friend. So why should I not sympathize with myself? I'd possibly tell her that she is crying too hard and she is trying to be a good mother, but that drop off at the daycare is the best way out, is the best option, because this will help you look after your child much better. Now this is what I call a compassionate U-turn from criticizing yourself to understanding you're part of humanity, and then self-kindness. Well, this has to be done. Now, if people have trouble offering themselves of the full compassion, they offer to a friend, then you have better ask yourself, would you be willing to consider treating yourself just a little bit more than you might treat a friend? And if that way, that is self-compassion. Many times people realize that their fear of letting themselves go might make them lazy or let themselves off the hook. No, it will remind you that you are a human being. And as a human being, you learn and you plan. And this action may be wrong, may be right. It was a part of it. You learn from it and you are going further. So the people typically acknowledge their current strategy. And still, if you feel that this three-step way is not proper, think what you can tap into. Rather than trying to force yourself to accept it intellectually, adopt the attitude of a scientist running an experiment. Put yourself as if you were a student, like the Berkeley experiment I talked to you. What would you say? When you realize that you are great, you are intelligent, but you are a part of the humanity as well, and this or any action that you have taken may be wrong, but there is a scope for learning. So try some self-compassion in a moment of tension, trauma, duress. And what you will say? I can bet if you try it even in small ways, the result will start and it will convince you there's a better approach than just criticizing you. So be self-compassionate. You are a part of the humanity. And if you have a self-compassion with these three attributes, you'll be much better human being. And that's what you want to be. Thank you.